you've got a base for activism, you've got a base for where
Yes.
your family is, and you spend your personal, time also with them, and you've got a base for producing your
Hmm.
online content. So
Yes.
w- what is the reason for you to sort of pick and choose from, different locations on Mother Earth? What is the end
Um,
that you get from
yeah,
different?
that's interesting. So basically, well, in Lebanon, I also do activism because I help out with the projects of Lebanese vegans. So that's also there. When I go see my family, I also spend time with the group and try to brainstorm on the next projects we can work on. The reason why I do the lectures and everything in Europe is because it's very easy to do it there. It's very easy to be invited to universities and schools. The language barrier is not there, cultural barrier is not there. And at the same time, living in Europe is very expensive and also not that nice compared to living in Indonesia. So I definitely, when I first came to Indonesia and just Southeast Asia in general, I was really shocked that I wasn't exposed to this culture before because I found it so welcoming and warm, which is something that I had in Lebanon, but I didn't have in Europe. And I didn't realize how much I missed it. The ability to even be here, being Lebanese, it's like the passport issue, the visas, and all that stuff. And then finally, one thing that matters a lot for me is the amount of racism that I used to face in Europe, weekly, if not on a daily basis, is something that I haven't faced a single time since I moved here 3 years ago. So it's an easy pick for me.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting that you mentioned the difference in energy and
Yeah,
vibration of certain places in Southeast Asia, and having been several times to Bali myself, I can vouch for how welcoming, how warm, how
yeah,
hospitable that place is within the larger country of Indonesia. Bali's got something special going on. So.
definitely.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself as an activist,
Okay,
about your childhood and how did you
sure.
become?
Um, well, I went vegan 8 years ago, and it's not something I thought about straight away. Even though on the first day that I went vegan, I watched a lot of documentaries that were supposed to push me towards the path of activism, but for some reason I didn't think about it. It wasn't until a year later that I saw a photo on Facebook of activists in London in the metro showing footage of the documentary Earthlings and giving out leaflets and talking to people. I went on a Facebook group in Barcelona and I wrote a post and I asked if there's anyone interested in doing that. And I found out that people were already doing that in Barcelona. I wasn't aware of it. So I joined them, and that's how my activism started. But I have been active in human rights issues as well before that. This is just something that made me realize, wow, like, yeah, I'm vegan, it's great, but it's not enough. It's not enough for the animals for me to just stop paying for their exploitation and death. I have to do more. It's a responsibility almost, I would say. And later I started organizing events myself, and I did that for a few years. After that, I saw the impact of activism, and my career was in architecture. So I was the head of architecture projects, the international projects of an architecture and engineering company in Barcelona. So I quit my job, decided to give all my time to activism and start a support page. If I get enough support, I thought I'll continue. Great. If not, that's also fine. I know I tried. Worst case scenario, I can just get another job and continue my life without wondering how it would have been like if I did that. So thankfully, I got the support that I needed to do that, and I've been doing that ever since full time. It's gonna be 4 or 5 years, and after I took the break from activism, which was around a month and a half or 2 months, well, it was a break from physical activism, I would say, because I did still make online content. I did enter slaughterhouse kill floor in different places to document what's happening to animals. So it was just a break from physical activism. After that, I received some invitations to do lectures in schools and universities, and I thought, well, this is something I haven't given a try. So I was really interested to see what it would be like. And the results were absolutely amazing because I prepared an anonymous survey for schools to give out to their students after I finish. And the impact of the lectures was so much more than what I was able to do 4 hours on the street trying to talk to people. 1 hour in a school or university is just so much more. It's like the best way I could spend my time. And it's also talking to the next generation who hopefully has more power in a few years, and it's also their future. And it relies on what they're going to decide to do. So I think it's a really good age range to target. And after that, I thought, well, I've done 35 or 40 lectures, and the results speak for themselves. Let me do this more. In 2020, I was supposed to do 80 lectures. I managed to do 10 or 11, and then the pandemic started. So I had to stop all the lectures. Obviously, everything got postponed and canceled. And that's when I realized, okay, now I have to switch back to online content because, during the pandemic, it was impossible to do anything physically. And that's when I started concentrating more on making YouTube videos, and recently also started a podcast called Principles of Change, where I invite different people, game changers, activists, to talk about what they do to normalize different types of activism, because I realized a lot of people think there's one perfect way of doing activism, but I don't think that's true. I think there's so many different ways that people can be active depending on what their talents are. And I want to encourage people to find what is their best thing that they can offer to the movement. And another thing that I did during that time was publish an ebook, When Animal Rights and Logic Meet. It's an ebook that explains logical fallacies and how it shapes our relation to other animals. It's available in 20 languages, and obviously it's for free. It's up on my website. Anyone can download it, and hopefully it'll help them have easier and better conversations with non-vegans when they're talking about animal rights, and just help them identify the logical fallacies that people use and how to reply and how to communicate, basically, because that is what it is. There's not a single justified way, logically speaking, of what we're doing to other animals.